Over the past couple of weeks, I have talked quite a bit about Spider-Man. I made 2 videos, each talking about multiple movies, as I made the Sam Raimi video and the Mark Webb one. Today, we are talking about John Watts' MCU trilogy for Spider-Man, which is what this all has been building up to. Originally, I was going to do a video for Homecoming and Far From Home, and then do a separate one for No Way Home. But I decided to do it this way, as it's easier, it requires less work, less editing, etc., etc. So yeah, let's talk about these movies, starting with Spider-Man Homecoming. Spider-Man Homecoming is the first Marvel Cinematic Universe Spider-Man movie. It stars the generalized cast that is in most of them. It stars Tom Holland and Zendaya for starters, except the main villain is played by Michael Keaton as Vulture. To start this off, Vulture is my favorite MCU villain. He is my favorite Spider-Man movie villain. I loved Vulture in this movie. I think he has really well fleshed out motives. He's a really well fleshed out character. And I like how his character is meant to make you think about the ideologies of this universe. I really like that idea. I really like the concept, and I like how it's applied. And I like Spider-Man in this movie. I like how he grows beyond Iron Man 2. We'll get beyond that later with Far From Home. But in this movie, he grows as a character, and in the end, he is more of a Spider-Man than an Iron Man. And I love that. I love how it starts off with him just wanting to impress Iron Man, but he slowly gets more involved, and he wants to take down Vulture just because. Even after he loses the suit, he's still trying to take down Vulture because it's just the right thing to do. It fits with Spider-Man's motives, and it really works. I love the way that fleshes out. And I love Tom Holland's performance in this movie. I think he does a really good job throughout. Standout is in No Way Home, but we'll talk about that later, obviously. But yeah, I think he does great here. And I think Michael Keaton does great here. Their car scene together is really well done. I really love how both of them play that, how the suspense is played with both of them. It's great. It's a great scene. But yeah, I love the chemistry between the two, and I love both of their performances. And I think Iron Man is in the movie a little too much, but I think it's overall well done. I think he's well included, as it starts with the motivation for Spider-Man, and then it slowly becomes something else. I do love that. I think it's great. And then I think all the other performances are really solid. Ned, I think, is pretty well acted. I think he's okay written. He's a little iffy in this movie. I think he is better in the other two. But like I said, I really like this one. It's probably still my favorite movie of the trilogy. No Way Home is off the theater experience, but as a movie, Homecoming, I think, still takes the cake slightly, which we'll get to why later. But yeah, Homecoming, really good. There are some iffy spots with the visual effects, which I will admit. But yeah, it's really good overall. I really enjoy this movie. It's a really fun movie. It doesn't take too much to watch. I mean, yes, you do have to know what's going on beforehand to watch it, but I'm saying, like, it doesn't take a specific emotion or feeling to watch. It's just one of those movies you can just throw on and have a good time. And I like that. It's overall a competently made movie, and it's a competently made story, and I think it's a good Spider-Man iteration. So we're going to give Spider-Man Homecoming 9 out of 10. Only one of the Spider-Man movies I would rate a 10, and that is not coming up in this video or in the previous two, because it's Into the Spider-Verse. Into the Spider-Verse is a 10. But yeah, now let's talk about the next one, Far From Home. Far From Home is an movie. It's okay. I think it's fun as a movie. I think it's well done as a movie. I think it's fun. It has a consistent plot and a consistent tone and a consistent pace. I think it is a well-made movie. But my problem with it is how they handle Peter Parker. Peter is reverted most of the way from his character in Homecoming, and Infinity War, Endgame, and Far From Home. And Far From Home does it just to tell the same arc again. Spider-Man starts off as Iron Man 2 just to yet again become Spider-Man. And I do not like that. I do not like that they revert his character just to do the same thing. I think it feels lazy, it feels rushed, and it feels incompetent. I do not like it. I do not like how it's handled and how it's done, but it's pretty meh. But I do like the story. I think the story works well overall. I think I'd like it even better if he just did it because he wanted it with his friends, and he felt this constant pull because he's not in New York protecting people. I would have liked that a lot more than him trying to get out of protecting people, which is something Spider-Man would never do because of his motives and stuff. His all that. But I think that would be a fairly solid story if they did not handle Peter the way they did. I like Mysterio as a villain. I think he works really well. He offers something different that we haven't really seen in any of these other ones. The way that obviously the Stark connection is something we've seen before, but the way he's friends with Peter as a villain instead of being friends with Peter and then becoming a villain, I think that is really well done. How he feels this obligation not to kill Peter until he finds out that Peter knows and then he is angry about it and stuff. I love how that's done. I think it's great. And I think Nick Fury, or the Skrull version of Nick Fury, is okay. Same with Maria Hill. I like the chemistry between Tom Holland and Zendaya in their respective roles. I do think it's kind of dumb Zendaya as MJ, and it's not even the same MJ, but oh well. It's cool to see unique versions of characters. Yet again, I think Ned's really fun. Like I said, I prefer him slightly in this one to Homecoming. And yeah, I still say that. Just a few minutes later, it's not surprising. But yeah, Far From Home, fun movie, mediocre Spider-Man movie. 6 out of 10. 6, 7, somewhere in there. 6 or 7. Okay. Now, we're talking about the big boy. The big new one with the biggest opening of the pandemic ever, and already one of the highest grossing movies of the pandemic. One of the highest openings of all time. Spider-Boy, No Way Home. And I will admit, I was skeptical about this one. It looked like it was going to be a mess and the fan service was just going to be drawn out. But I really liked this one. Don't get me wrong. It's a mess. The way a bunch of the stuff is set up is mediocre at best. And it does not feel like it's really caring about how to get to the destination. It's just about getting there. But the destination is amazing. There are so many great moments in this movie. There are so many out of these world moments. There are so many applaud-worthy moments. In my theater that rarely ever applauds to anything, there were 4 moments of applause. And yeah, that's insane. It on fan service, it delivers on every level. So as a Spider-Man fan, I am going to be biased to this movie out of the gate because of that. But not only that, Peter Parker's character is handled really well. He isn't attached to Iron Man this time, and he goes through this experience with his motives and his decisions where consequences actually matter. In Far From Home, they're not really there. Everything starts and ends just fine. He lets all these things happen, and he's just fine. I love that this movie makes him deal with the consequences. I love how they handle his character. And the performances from all the returning villains are amazing. Willem Dafoe is great. Alfred Molina is great. Jamie Foxx gets a chance to redeem himself after Amazing Spider-Man 2. Thomas Hayden Church is great. I did not care for him particularly in this movie, but he is doing a great job. Rhys Ifans is great, or however you pronounce his name. All of them are really good. All of them are doing a really good job. Willem Dafoe is definitely the standout in acting here, but all of them are doing pretty well. Marissa Tomei is doing pretty well as Aunt May. And all the supporting characters are doing great. And with that said, I will give it a 9 out of 10. But now, we are getting into spoilers. Figured I'd save this for the end, so that way people who haven't seen the movie, which is probably rare with people watching this video, can skip the spoilers. So anyways, without further ado, we're getting into spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's talk about spoilers. And to start off, my favorite scene in the movie is the ending. I love the ending and the consequences Peter has. It all starts off, all this multiverse stuff starts off with him messing up the spell that Doctor Strange was making to help people forget his identity. So he has all this stuff happen because of it. And at the end, he is willing to sacrifice knowing everyone he knows. None of them will know him anymore. Not even just that he's Spider-Man. They just won't know that he exists. But this is something he's willing to do because he's putting the lives of others above his own. And that is Spider-Man. That is peak Spider-Man. Spider-Man will always put the worst situation for him at the priority if it is better for everyone else. And I love how they do the conflict. And I love how they do the conflict with that. And how they build that up. Stuff. It's such a great scene. And on top of that, I love the suit at the end too. Because he has to make a homemade suit and stuff. Because he can't have people knowing he's related to Tony Stark's technology and stuff. And I love the way the suit looks. It looks so nice. And then, another scene I obviously have to talk about is the 3 Spider-Mans. I love how they introduce both Andrew and Tobey. I love how they're introduced by them trying to find Peter Parker through the portals. And that's such a fun scene. The minute I saw Andrew's visors, I just knew it was him. Because that suit has such a distinct style for the visors that's so close to the comics. I love that. The big buggy eyes. Great. And I love when you see Tobey turn around and stuff. Such a cool scene. Such a cool scene. And the scene where they're all getting ready and hanging out together is so fun. Having them talk about fighting aliens and stuff is really cool. And then they swing together. One of the biggest moments in a movie that I've seen. It's just great. And I love the scene where they all connect over loss with Uncle Ben's for the other two. And then Gwen for Andrews and Aunt May for Peter's. I love that scene. I love how they connect. I love how that feels really well done. And I love the Peter 1, 2, 3 joke and stuff. And how they have when Ned calls for Peter Parker stuff. And they're all just like, yeah. And I found that really fun. I found their chemistry really fun. And I love the way it grows and builds. How they feel like family of a sort. I love that. I find it very fun. And Aunt May's death is an emotional, impactful scene. So it's so heartbreaking. I genuinely cried seeing the movie, seeing that scene. Because they did it so well. I love how she doesn't realize she's dying. Because her head's so woozy from all of it, she doesn't realize what's going on. And I love how they do. I love how it's not someone begging for their life, which is a way to react, but another way is how they portrayed that. And I loved that. I thought that it definitely built up the scene to be even more emotional than it was. And I like how it's all because of Peter's actions. And I love how one of the last things May says to him is that he did the right thing. That is a great scene. And how it leads to him almost killing Green Goblin at the end it's really great. Because Green Goblin broke him down from killing May. And I thought that was great. And I love how Green Goblin's character is done. How he has how you see the two sides of Norman. I think he's better in this movie than he is in the 2002 Spider-Man. I think he is great here. I think he's really well done. And I think they fleshed him out really well. I like Electro too. I like how they redeemed him. and they made him more of an actual villain than just a, oh, I'm just evil because I'm misunderstood. I like how he's actually evil in this one. He's actually a villain. I love that. I love, love, love that. And I think Doc Ock is really well done here too, even though he doesn't have as much to do as the trailers led us to believe. Because the trailers made it seem like Doc Ock was the main villain, whereas if you've seen the movie, it is pretty clear that Green Goblin is the main villain of the movie. But yeah, I love how that's done. I love, love, love. I love how so much of it is handled. And then I really, really enjoy the scene in the mirror dimension with Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. Seeing Spider-Man beat Doctor Strange in a fight on his own using smarts was really nice. It's really fun to see that. And I love, like, and even though they're pretty messy, I really like the first, like, 30 minutes of the movie where Spider-Man has the identity crisis thing. And when Matt Murdock from the Daredevil series shows up, when Charlie Cox shows up on screen, that was awesome, especially after Wilson Fisk showed up in that new Hawkeye episode. That was a really cool thing to see. I am really, really excited to see what he does in the future. I'm glad he's here, even if it was very brief. It was very, very brief. But yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home was such a fun movie. It was a mess in a lot of areas, but it has so much fan service that it's done so well. I can't help but love it as a Spider-Man fan. Like I said, 9 out of 10. And there we go. There we have it. All the live action series covered. All of them culminated into this one big movie. And I'm glad I got to talk about them along the way. Glad I got to watch them again before going into this one. And I am really excited how this one turned out. I'm excited to see Tom Holland's next trilogy where he grows as a character even more. Now that he is fully Spider-Man now, I am excited to see where they take him next. I'm excited to see who they face him up against next. Maybe we'll see that Venom that was left behind play a part. And then maybe not. Who knows? Not us yet. We'll just have to figure that out along the way. But yeah. Anyways, that's all I have for today. And probably for a little bit, unless I decide to make more videos soon, which depends on how lazy I'm feeling. But yeah. I hope to see you all later, and peace out.